stakes are very high, the lights are very bright when you play a match in a world championship. And yet, the players amaze us by moving such unique and tricky moves that you might be blown off by seeing. Let's see some of these moves today, some of the most important matches. So the first one is pretty simple as compared to the others. It's a world championship match between Anand and Kram, and Anand is playing as black, and he discovers a really good move that I urge you all to discover as well. In this board, can you see if it's black to move, what might be the best move? It's really easy to see once you follow our old algorithm, which captures and threats. What's the obvious threat here? The threat of the back mate. But Anand knows this, but as you can see that the bishop is defending here. He saves the day for now. But he actually saves the day. Well, at least let's do what our theory asks us to do. Check and the obvious defend. Now, Anand plays the brilliant move, knight to e3. It's a sacrifice, sure. It's a stupid sacrifice maybe because the pawn takes knight, but it's not really that bad. Look at what happens. He takes. Now, at this position, I have to take because on the in the other next move, I'll just give him a checkmate. Sure, you could try to escape from here, but the loss of a pawn is really bad. Loss of bishop is really bad. So, Ramesh decides to take, and once he takes, Anand takes it back. Now, in the next move, you can't do anything but this move, pawn b2 will be made because the rook can't come anywhere close in time. Uh, so yes, he moves and then Kramnik resigns. So it's a World Chess Championship, and the match is between Castle and Karachnik. Uh, Here, Carlsen is playing as white and Karachnik is playing as black. Can you, right now, if you see the board, you can see that black is threatening an immediate checkmate. And you might even argue that black is winning, as long as it's black's move, right? But it's white moves right now. Can you identify the winning move for Magnus Carlsen? Well, I'll tell you the solution now. So what Carlsen did at this position was queen to h6. I know it looks very random. You might argue that king takes queen. Oh, but wait for it. So see, if queen goes to h6, now at this position, black can't really escape anywhere. Black has to take the queen, either with the king or with the pawn. And I'm arguing that both these takes lose for black. So, for example, if black takes the queen with the king, then this obvious checkmate with the rook. But on the other hand, if black decides not to take the queen with the king, but rather with the pawn, at this position as well, the rook takes the pawn and it's and checkmate still. So white has just escaped an entire, he was just losing at this position and he just sacrificed this queen and boom, it's a win-win for white now. Yes, that was a pretty brilliant move by Magnus Carlsen. So the next match is again between Magnus Carlsen and the former world champion Tim Lin. It's another World Chess Championship, and black is being played by Liren, white is being played by Carlsen, and black does the blunder of moving the rook to b2. You won't really see the blunder in it until you see what Carlsen knows. So at this position, if you're white, try to figure out what might be your winning move. Well, the winning move for Carlsen was simply the queen sacrifice. Queen takes pawn, and you can see that if king takes queen, rook to h4 is a checkmate, and the king can't really go back because the bishop is hanging there. So, like, till this moment, Dinglerin was not entirely losing because he could have somehow defended this, but because he was not able to see this particular brilliant sacrifice, he decided to go for rook b2 and lost the match. This is also another brilliant set of moves. I don't think it's another championship match, but it's a match played by GrandMaster as black. And in this position, he decides to go for rook takes bishop. Now, you might argue that it's a really weird sacrifice, but believe me, it's really good. So, when he decides to take a rook with bishop, you might argue that, oh, the pawn might take the rook back. But as you can see, there is a triple fork. The knight comes here, and then it's written the king, the queen, and the rook. So that's really bad, right? So, of course, you can't take the rook with the pawn. What white decides to do instead is threaten the queen. And it is at this moment that black plays the brilliancy of queen to b6. Now, at this moment, you can see that the queen is dying in a thousand ways. The rook is also dying. The rook is not dying, of course. It's pinned. But in every single way that the queen dies, uh, black is still winning. How? Let's say that queen is taken by the a pawn. In that case, knight to d7 is a checkmate because this file will be open and it will be a checkmate. Let's say he takes it with this particular pawn. In that case, also, this check, the king has to go back, and rook to c8 is a checkmate. And in the third possibility, that queen takes queen, I can still fork him, take my queen back, and even have some additional advantage with my rook in this file because this pawn will always be open. So this was the brilliancy of sacrificing the queen, and you have to take the queen because in the ultimate match, no, I am hitting a checkmate. So at this point, the opponent resigned, and it was a pretty brilliant move to watch. This is possibly the craziest of all sacrifices that we have seen in the video. Um, I mean, this is not even a championship match, I think. This is another Magnus Carlsen match, but I don't really think it's a championship match. But the sacrifice is so good that I want to show you. So at this point, Magnus is black, and the move he decides to make is bishop takes pawn. I mean, you might argue, okay, fire, pawn takes pawn and queen takes pawn, and it's a good check onto the right wing. But it is not really just bishop takes pawn. There are, I don't know, three or four sacrifices in the sequence that I'm going to show you. So yes, bishop takes pawn. Of course, you have to take it with the pawn. Now, the queen still does not take this pawn yet. He decides to sacrifice the rook. Now, okay, you can see that the knight can take the rook, and if knight takes rook, then pawn takes knight, and it's a fair trade. It's a beneficial trade for white. The queen can't take the rook because it's not really beneficial. So white decides to take the rook. At this moment, he doesn't even take it back. He decides to threaten. He decides to give the check to white. Fair. This is absolutely fine. Right? No sacrifices here. White has to go back. Now he decides to even go one step further and give a check again. He can't really take the knight with the rook because there is a background checkmate hanging. So all white can do, the forced move is the king has to come back. But another double discovered check. So the double discovered check is that you give the opponent a check with your piece, but by moving that piece away, there is another check by another piece hanging. So here, for example, the queen is giving the check, the knight is giving the check, and this happened through a discovery. So it's called a double discovered check. And you can't really do anything in double discovered check. You have to move your king away always because there are two sides from where the check is coming, and you can't really take one of them. And now came in the brilliance of this modern made thing that we have seen before. Carlsen decides to sacrifice his queen. He can't take the queen with the king because the knight is here, and the white is forced into a checkmate in this beautiful fashion. And I mean, imagine how many possibilities he had iterated over and over before making this move, bishop takes b3, because this entire thing was planned ahead in time. And that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of the game itself.